And we're live. One moment while everyone gets in here. We invite the band. Angel, thanks for joining. Rogue Target, thanks for joining. Hope to get you guys on at some point. Riffs 86X, thanks for joining. There's Rasputin's Dick. Thanks for joining, guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna redo my thing here. There you are. What's up, guys?
What's up?
How's it going? Good. A little under the weather, but we'll power through here. Iron 02, thanks for joining. Sorry if I pronounce your names wrong. Feel free to correct me. I'll just give a little spiel up front, and then we can get into it. If anyone has questions at any point, please drop them in the comments, and we can ask the guys and go from there. All right. So we got all four of you tonight?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. All right, here, I'll just read something off the top, and then we'll get into it. All right, hello, and welcome to the Bellwether Virtual Live Stream, where we discuss music scene, bands, social media, and more. Today is Wednesday, March 29th. Hope you had a good week. My name is Mike, and I'm the vocalist and guitarist of Bellwether Ritual. I hope, where was I? I'm sorry. We have a show coming up May 13th, so keep an eye out for that one. And yeah, a little under the weather tonight, so bear with me. We'll go from there. All right, this week we have the band Rasputin's Dick, an up-tuned melodic mixture of death metal, black metal, and classic heavy metal. They combine their favorite aspects of bands like Dissection, Death, and Dio, and they are working on their first demo EP, Rising, which is expected to be released later this year, and they have released a few singles so far. I have a favorite for sure. We'll talk about it in a minute. Fellas, Kurt, Andy, Rusty, and Charlie, welcome to the stream. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, yeah.
Awesome.
How you doing?
Yeah. Circuit Sapphire, thank you for joining. If you have questions for the band, dump them right down in their comments and we'll get to them. Okay, so you guys, I gotta say, you're our first semi long distance. You're from Canton, Ohio, so I have some questions for sure about that and the music scene out there. Brandy, thank you for joining. Any questions, drop them in the chat there for the boys. All right, you guys. Rasputin's band is the best, or Rasputin's Dick is the best band of all time, according to Circuit Sapphire. So thank you for dropping that in there. We'll be asking about that. All right, right up top, guys, is there anything that you have coming up that you want to plug? I know you have 2 singles out. Are you doing any shows or anything coming up?
Shoot, I'm supposed to remember all these.
May 20th?
Yeah, May 20th. I'm at California Meadery. It's like a local meadery around here.
Oh, cool.
We have a show in April. It's like a mixed genre, like kind of a rap, rock, metal show.
Oh,
28th.
That's, yeah, April 28th. And that's in Cleveland at the Foundry. And then we have a couple other shows that we're not allowed to talk about yet. But
yeah, no problem.
top secret. A couple things lined up.
And you just, you recorded Rising and you released like 2 singles off of that? Is that what the songs are from?
And those kind of like demo edits of the songs from that. We recorded all of that material ourselves. So
I know,
it's
that's
just
amazing.
kind of a learning process as we're doing it because Rusty's mixing it, bringing it. We're all still kind of learning.
Well, it sounds fantastic. I definitely want to get into that because we're like home recorders as much as possible too. So we'll touch on that. Plain baked potatoes. Thank you for joining. Yeah, for sure. All right. So did you guys all grow up around the Canton area, or did you move from somewhere else? How'd you all meet?
We all get this area, and Andy were in bands before when we were, so we kind of just like met through the music scene and like playing in bands and stuff and going to shows pretty much.
That's where it happens.
Us, we had a project that we were working on at one point in time.
Yeah.
And our player and the other guitar player in that project ended up having brain cancer. So we ended up parting ways and kind of the day on that one. And Andy made a write music. So we started writing together, and then Charlie, I ended up buying a house like right up the road from, so it just kind of worked out to where we were all like back together. Rusty came in shortly thereafter, and it's just kind of been working like really well ever since.
Yep.
Awesome. How long have you guys been together? It's always crazy too. I know you said the brain cancer thing is just like tragic stuff, but like you make these bonds with people, and then like life like happens like that. Yeah, can you just maybe like how long have you been working at this for right now, like this project?
It's been 3 years since the beginning, but I would have been like a year and a half with it up and everything like really going.
Yeah, like full act.
Like the process was mostly started with just Andy and I as a person around.
Cool. Let's go into that because I wanted to talk to you about that. Deep Pockets, Jordan, thank you for joining. Scotty doesn't know. Thank you for joining. If you got questions for the fellas, what do you guys go by? I saw there's a post like Dick Boys. I know your fan base is Dickheads, correct?
Yeah. Shout out
All the dickheads out there.
Love it. Yeah, Big G Wob has joined. Thank you. Yeah, so can you just talk about so Kurt, things like when you're writing, are you just kind of like riffing and recording into a computer? Like how does that process start?
It usually starts with like either Andy and I will be together just like working on stuff, and like we'll hit a riff and we're like, that's the one, let's work off of that. And it just kind of goes riff by riff. And then sometimes we'll have, 2 or 3 riffs, and then just one day we'll add that into this song we put on the back burner, and or Andy will bring me a riff and I'll try to come up on a point for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually is just, we work it out until it sounds and feels right. We try to everything the same. I don't keep repeating and driving the same. Like I have like a specific flow in mind when I try to write them. Usually once we get it right, go in and we'll try to record something and make it more permanent to be able to go back and say, okay, that's how we did that.
Cool. Angel said that's awesome about your followers being dickheads, and Big Sig Wop says dickheads reign forever. That's awesome. Thanks for commenting. Yeah, you said you have an idea of like how you want it to flow. So is the whole band like I see a lot of like Russian elements obviously in the lyrics and that sort of thing, and then the name, which we'll get to in a second too. Is that something that like is this all planned out ahead of time and you guys are writing towards that, or how did that come about?
The whole name and everything about it was a joke. After Mogar was the previous project that we ended up disbanding from. After that, we were writing stuff together, and I was putting a lot of time and energy into the other thing. And Joey, the other guitar player, he was a really good friend, and we tried really hard to, make that like everything. So when everything fell apart, it was really hard on selling everything and give. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And he kind of pulled funk, and he was like, what should we call it? I was like, I don't care. We Rasputin's dick for all I care, as long as we're making good music. And he was like, that's it. And then we added like the element. And Andy's a real big history, but he likes, World War II and model tank.
Oh, cool.
All
yeah,
of
cool.
And it kind of just, we stuck with it. And we were doing the Russian thing a lot harder at first, and then the whole war with Ukraine happened, and we were like, we want to back off of that as much as not who we are, and we don't support that. We're not like, commies or anything, We just thought it was funny, And there's still a lot of it that is me, but war is very serious, and that's not something support or condone.
Yeah, there you go, clearing the air. It's not Mickey. Thanks for joining. And Big Zig Wop says Kurt is such a great composer. Andy's tone sounds like a 600-pound diabetic orc walking down the stairs. Oh, I love that description. You guys should just take that and run. Excellent. Tarapai, thanks for joining. If you have questions or comments for the guys, you can throw them in the comments section below there, and we'll get to them. Andy, you're World War II kind of guy. We grew up playing, I'm probably older than you guys, but we grew up playing like Axis and Allies and like Risk and shit. Did you ever get into that kind of stuff?
So, not so much on the board. I watched a lot as a kid, and it interested me. Dad's a veteran, and I would just go to sleep too, but I tuned a lot to it when I was younger. And around that time, that's when World War II, like first-person shooters were a big thing.
Yeah,
I kind of,
real.
Call of Duties, and World War for sure. And I just always thought that that was interesting to study upon. Yeah, and like model kits. I love mini painting model kits.
Yep. I had a friend who was a Civil War reenactor, so like every weekend he would go put wool on in the middle of the summer and like get out because we're so close to Gettysburg. He would just drive out there and do that all weekend. I always thought that was kind of cool, and only for the hardcores, you know.
Really,
Yeah, you guys, you should consider a gig.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Maybe we can arrange that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I think, like, from what I'm hearing, you guys sound like I'm incredibly impressed with the recording. So, can we just maybe get into that a little bit and like what you're using gear wise? Are you using computers at all? Like, I mean, on the recording side, not like any of the performance side. Like, can we just talk through a little bit of that? I'm always really interested to hear how people have their setups.
So I run a stereo guitar rig. Run it's a diesel line system and a Crate GX130C, which is like the death metal amp that everybody's ranting about right now. And just use Sam 609s, and we recorded a few different speakers into Scarlett like interface.
Yeah.
And for drums, I think we just did a couple of overheads. His drums trigger, so we just ran the trigger straight in.
Yeah.
And we did, I think we just did the E609s for the toms. Andy, we mic'd his bass cab and did a direct, and Rusty did all the other magic, really. But so everything's like live, real amps, real vocals, mixing and mastering on the computer and like whatever interface.
Yeah, it sounds excellent. And like, where are you recording drums at? We use an electronic kit right now. Just
So
performance.
the drums were recorded in this room.
Just tall ceiling.
My wife let me move the furniture out of this room. Thank you, Chelsea.
She is our fifth
For sure. She definitely up with a lot of noise.
Yeah.
But the ceiling's a bit taller. The room's like just size and everything. And we did our band spots in the basement where we practiced, and we just did the guitar.
Yeah, shout out to all the significant others who put up with all our crazy ideas.
Yes.
Things like
Yeah.
that.
Very supportive.
Cactus, thank you for joining. Okay, let's see what else we have. Rusty, you did sprinkle a whole lot of magic on this thing. I mean, you're like growling. I don't even know all the terms for it. Like, the high pitch. What was the song? The Dog. It was "Death at the Hands of the Crushing Red." I mean, right off the bat, you're hitting notes that like I can't even get close to. Um, where is that coming from? Like, can you talk a little bit about that? Like how you got started, or um, how you learned your technique?
Um, I've just been into music my whole life. Ever since I was a little kid, I just loved to sing. Um, I always wanted to be in it. And then in high school, I started my first band. I was originally the drummer. There was no one wanted to sing, so I had to play drums and sing. Um, it was like classic rock, grunge deal. So I just kind of had to learn how to sing high and do rough sounding vocals at the same time. Behind that, I was always really into metal as well. And then later got into black metal. So doing those vocals in the car and in the shower when no one else was around until I felt like I was good enough to do it in front of people.
That's awesome. We were talking about that on another stream actually too. Like those are the two spots where I feel like people can really feel comfortable enough to kind of experiment with those, kind of things, and it's exactly to your point. Until you get to a point where you're like, okay, I think I have something here that's worth sharing. That's great.
Yeah.
So are you just kind of listening to all the bands that you're inspired by and just trying to like get your voice to do the same thing, or are you looking up YouTube tutorials and shit like that?
Absolutely. So I'd say when I was in high school, I would like tutorials and harsh vocals, and it never turned me on. There was never I couldn't find anybody that was like doing harsh vocals the way I wanted it. So kept finding, like, going deeper into heavier music, and listening and trying to finding the voices that I most, and trying to mimic that.
You just like, could you call a few out? I know you guys had mentioned like Death and Dissection and Dio, which like I thought that was a great combination because right off the bat I hear like almost I can hear all of those in that the first song I listened to, which is excellent.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Big vocal influences for me would have to be King for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I love Summoning. I'm blanking off the top right now.
Dio.
Yeah, Dio, absolutely.
Yep.
Obviously, to clean singing, Ozzy was a huge song early on. Yeah.
And when you're stacking all your vocals, like you sometimes you do like a low growl and like a high or like rough scream or whatever. Is that all stuff you're playing in out of head, or are you like cutting a track and then like, oh, I hear something else and throw that on top?
It's all off the top when I'm recording. I just have the lyrics, and usually I'll in and record the vocals, or if there's a part that I think some lower vocals. But yeah, it's all I put in front of me and go.
Cool. All right, so let's see, what else do we want to get to? So you have, is Rising in the Can your demo EP? Or are you still working on like
Yeah, it's all with like fit and the mix and everything on it.
All right, cool. And you're like thinking later this year release it? How many songs?
5 songs. 5.
Cool. And you also mentioned that, like, you're to go along with the DIY side of things, that you also print your own shirts. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just want
Charles are here.
Okay, cool.
Cranking them out, man. He's been doing it on and off as long as I've known him, and he just mastered the process. I don't know. He can tell you more about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I figured it. Yeah, I just figured it'd be like fun. I don't know. It's like a giant vibe with this whole thing, like from the start. So got to the point where we needed shirts. I was like, all right, let's print them. So it's just, I don't know, it's cool because you can just roll it and do it and crank them out.
I like the fact that we can do like multiple colorways.
Yeah.
Like different colored shirts, different colored things.
Yeah, we have lots of options. Yeah.
You're not stuck with 100 black and white t-shirts. You know, you can get a couple of this and of that and experiment and see what color combos go good together. And,
yes,
you know, I don't know. I just think it's less restricting than spending $1,000 or more on, you know, one design on one t-shirt printed one way.
Yeah. We want lots of options for all the dickheads.
Yeah, all the dickheads out there. They like the options.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that, and you really hit on something there, because we wanted to go try the same thing. Like, we actually just went to a screen printer because I don't have time to learn something like that, and it's awesome that Charlie does. But we were like, oh, we want to try all these different color combinations and see what works. And it's like, nope, we got stuck with the black and white. So we just got to deal with that for now. But Charlie, do you have? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you bet. I was just chiming in.
Yep. Dr. Esden, thanks for joining. Any questions for the guys, throw them in the chat. So do you have like a whole, is it like a one color thing? Are you doing multicolor at any point? I saw that you had a whole bunch like pink and black and all different kind of colorways like you were talking about.
Yeah, so we're just trying, like right now it's just one color. I definitely want to upgrade to like a 4-color press. That would be sick. But right now we're just trying to do like cool, like one color, different combos, like black on pink or red on yellow. That's kind of the best thing to do with like a one color press, but definitely trying to upgrade.
And then you're basically like, I never went down this path personally. Like, are you just? I guess you're keeping the ink colors kind of. Well, I guess it's all how you put them together, right? So are you like mixing any inks together, or is it just like pretty much straight colors?
Yeah, so right now I just started off like doing like straight colors, but I'm like at the very beginning of going down that rabbit hole of like different inks and like discharge inks specifically, which is like a whole gotta like mix chemicals and like do all that stuff. So right now we're just doing it pretty basic, but it's in the pipeline to be, you know, better, more complex.
Yeah, very cool. And you could save so much money like that too, having just gone through the entire process of handing money over. I know. Ray Manning, thanks for joining. All right. Can you just talk about maybe the Canton area music scene a little bit, and like what is is there like you talked before about having a real kind of big mix up in a show of like different styles. Is it kind of all over the place there? Are there any kind of styles that are more popular than others?
Yeah, I think
Canton scene is more Cleveland.
Yeah, well, like Canton does have a little bit of a scene specifically, but like when you say Canton, it's really bunched in like Canton, Akron, and then Cleveland. But like Canton, Akron, there's a lot of rock bands.
Yeah.
And then there's also like a lot of good like rappers or like rap groups. And in Cleveland, there's a lot of death metal specifically, or like heavy metal really. Like Cleveland is known for like metal bands. That's like a thing. So that like bleeds off a little bit in Canton, Akron, but there's a shit ton of rock bands around here.
Yeah.
Like good bands.
Yeah.
And there was like one really good venue around here for a while that had like super sick bands and tours all the time, but it sadly shut down. So then everything kind of shifts back up to like Akron, Cleveland.
Yeah, we were talking about this previously too. It's like you don't realize how important those places are until they're gone, and then all those great bands that came from folk there. Yeah, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, that's very true.
And you,
like one venue can make a big difference, but yeah.
you could be the best band in the world if you don't have a place to play.
Yeah.
If people can't come see you, there's not really a whole lot of hope for you. And you know, the online thing, it'll get you to a certain point, but people want to see you play. And it sucks to have to drive like over an hour away to play a good show at a good venue.
Yeah.
It would just be a lot easier, you know, and especially like people who are like friends and family who might not necessarily be dickheads, who might not necessarily be die hard into like the heavier styles of music, but still want to come out and see you and support you and stuff. It's really hard to convince those people to take that hour journey just to see you, and then have to, you know, sit through 3 or 4 bands that isn't really their cup of tea. And I don't know, it's been a real bummer. And I think part of the reason why we have such an amalgamation of styles is because it's hard, you know, we're not in Cleveland, so the death metal thing isn't like so strict for us. And, you know, we are around a lot of like rock bands that do a lot of, you know, classic and more like fuzzy, kind of dirty blues kind of thing. And I think adding all of those elements together make us more of an Ohio band than a Canton, Ohio band.
Gotcha. Cool. You touched on a couple things there. I think isn't one of your ways you describe the band like death and roll or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I definitely hear like the rock and roll influence too. It's not like I think it's in a good way, but like the Hands of the Crushing Red. Did I say that right? I'm sorry.
Yes.
That I love how you play with the tension and release there. So like when it gets to the chorus or whatever, like the riff kind of, and I think the drums like open up, and it's like it's just a great bit of songwriting there where you can just hear like you're setting it up and then you give them the release. And can you maybe just talk about that a little bit? Is that something that you're consciously like looking to put in there as much as possible? Is that just kind of spontaneous?
Yes, I kind of like if I have a heavier riff, I like to follow it up with something a little more melodic or a little bit more like rock and roll, and then bring the heavy again.
Yep.
My inspirations are kind of all over the place. I really like the Scandinavian melodic death metal a lot, but I'm really into blues and funk. You know, like Eddie Hazel from Parliament, or Lonnie Mack, who's like a blues guy. People like that, Marcus King, who's been just destroying blues recently. So a lot of stuff like that, and I try to incorporate a little bit of everything. And Andy's really influenced by classic heavy metal, like Motorhead especially. And so we try to bring that element in when we can. We're tuned above was kind of a joke too, where we were like, everybody drop tunes when we tuned up.
Ask you about that. Yeah, okay.
And it just stuck, and I think it sounds cool. It mixes really well in a live setting. It blends, I don't know, everybody sits well in a mix. It's not so bass heavy, and I think that really plays to our favor. Yeah, it was kind of a happy accident.
Sure.
Thank you for bringing that up. Josh Spurk, thank you for joining. Thank you for bringing that up. When I did read Uptuned, I was like, oh, you mean like you're just not dropping like everyone else? Like, not everyone else, but like a lot of people now will drop pretty low. So are you like at standard, but you're actually like higher than standard?
Yeah, so it's like it's D sharp, so it's still like drop D, but it's a half step up. So like your low E is a half step down, and all the other strings are a half step up.
At 445.
Yeah, and then we also tune at 445 hertz as
Okay,
opposed
yeah.
to 440, which is more just to add like a little bit of like a sharpness and an edge to it. Just trying to make it something that nobody's heard before or very few people have done before. Just I feel like, I don't know, when you hear the same style and the same tuning, I think it starts to drone and things start to blend together and you don't remember who's who and what song's a new song. And I just thought it was a cool way to stand apart.
Totally. We were talking about that too. Like when I play with a click track and I have the click in my ear, there's times where I can't even hear it anymore because, to your point, it's the same frequency or the same notes over and over. You just kind of tune them out after a while. That's really interesting though. So you guys are a half step up, but then drop tuning basically. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, very cool.
Plays like drop, it's just sharp.
Yeah. So you're kind of in between, like that. Let's see. Death Rain, thanks for joining. Any questions for the fellas? Throw them on in there. So where did that come from? I know you're saying like to set yourself apart, and I think that's a great idea. You're just basically looking at what everyone else is doing, and that's where it's coming from? Have you heard of any other bands that have done that, or is that just something that you're experimenting with and it worked for you?
After the fact, like looking into it, there are a few bands, Immortal, as Andy stated. I think there's a band, they're called Vector. They tune up above standard.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know that until afterwards. And then the 445 hertz, so it's like 5 cents sharp on your tuner. That came from Dissection, a couple of their first albums. I don't know if it was that they sped it up slightly or if the actual tuning was set that way, but there's a few songs off the Somberling, their first big album, that were tuned at 445. So that kind of came from them. And just the tuning up, like I said, it was kind of everybody's in, drop C or drop A or whatever. What if we tuned above standard, instead of breakdowns, what if we did speed ups? Right? It was just like all kinds of jokes, and some just stuck it. I don't know, came up with something really cool, and I dig it. I think it's different in a good way.
It's hard to drop C.
Yeah. Chelsea, by the way, thank you for joining, and David Hirsch, thank you for joining. Hirsch. All right, so does that make you play differently? Like usually, like what I like to do for songwriting is try a different instrument or borrow someone else's guitar or something like that. Like, are you instantly writing differently, or is it like an inspiring thing?
Everything feels like Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can put it. Yeah. Like no matter where I'm at on the net, it kind of I dug like breakdowns and paddle riffs and your traditional like Swedish, death metalcore kind of a riff, and it doesn't sound quite the same. And I think it's allowed me to think outside of the box and come up with some more catchy things that are like not so traditional the way you would play them. One of my favorite things is to go like farther up on the neck. So like you're already tuned up, but it sounds even higher, and I don't know. Wicked things you can do. And I put a lot of extra bass in on my amp, and that helps like add that little bit of low end thump that you need to really like feel the music hitting you. And I don't know, it's just something different. It plays a lot like drop D. It's just nothing sounds as heavy as you think it sounds at first, I guess. I don't know.
I definitely know what you're saying. Rusty, did you have any issue? It doesn't sound like it, but did you have any issues with the slightly up but down tuning at all, or is it just something you just kind of jumped into and went with?
No, luckily, the majority vocals are not tuned to it, so
So,
I get you.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Really important question from Plain Baked Potato here. What is the best beer to drink while listening to Rasputin's Dick?
Miller Lite.
It's unanimous. Are you guys sponsored?
oh, and Stoli,
With that,
but you know, it's not beer, but you can make it a beer if you try it.
All right. Let's see here. So can you
Andy,
talk a
did
little?
you have anything about the tuning thing that like makes you think differently or play differently?
Yeah, for bass guitar specifically, the tension is higher than normal, so you have to play with more strength and dexterity, I would say. Um,
Do
and
you
like
adjust your
strings,
what's that?
the tension's higher on the strings with the humming.
Do you lower your action?
So
at
you have
all,
to play a little more strength.
Sorry, I talked over you. Do you lower your action at all because of that?
You're good. I'm sorry, I'm a little deaf. What'd you say?
Your action, do you have to like lower it because the tension is higher?
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't play like the bass guitar is tuned up to D sharp like that. They don't play as comfortably, I would say, if you don't play like that very often. You have to have a lot more dexterity, I would say, a lot more tension. So if I went back to like a standard tune bass or like drop, play a lot faster. It's like training weights almost.
Shit. Oh, do you guys play lighter strings too, or do you keep like the same string gauge?
Yeah.
Andy, for sure, he's like on the lightest standard set that they sell, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, like he's always like, "Man, this is so hard." So on bass, it definitely made a difference. I play on tens,
Same.
which
Yeah.
before I was playing on 13s when I was
Oh my
tuning
God.
down. So, like to me, it feels completely different. Everything had to be reset up, like all the action and just like especially like Rose, rebalancing that thing was a pain in the neck.
Oh God.
But
Yeah, it sounds like a
I think
nightmare.
it's all finally like dialed in the exact way that it needs to be. One of my hobbies on the side is like I fix gear and tube amps and stuff. So
cool.
it's kind of like a nervy thing for me to just be like, yeah, I'll set your bass up. Let's spend 4 hours like trying everything we can try and just get it dialed in just the way that you like it. So.
Yeah, you gotta start charging for that shit. Steel Sweetheart, thank you for joining.
Yeah.
I always tried to play lighter gauge strings after, I forget when I started that, but I played I don't know if you can even see it. It's this huge bump here from playing an acoustic guitar with too heavy. The string gauge was just too heavy, and I just tried to fight through recording a song and ended up like hurting my wrist actually. So I started to go towards lighter strings and really
That's intense.
with your sharpness tuning up, and you're basically sharp, like really sharp, but the sound is sharper too. I always thought about that, like you could see it with a band like Metallica. Like they're obviously huge, everyone knows them, but like in the beginning, their guitars reminded me of like razor blades or something that would like cut through. And then as they kept going, they kept like tuning down and down and down, and then it kind of like rolled into this club that would like hit you over the head instead. So that sounds like right exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Andy has like a good analogy that he always uses.
So I would say tuning down would be like a two-handed sword almost, you know what I mean? And the tuning we have now, which is tuned up, is almost like a katana. It slices, it doesn't bludgeon.
Good one.
Yeah.
I always thought of like a club or like a battle axe or something.
Yeah.
When you get really
Makes sense. Blood. Versus a katana or a dagger.
Yep. That's a very good one. Very apt. Steel Sweetheart says, "Hot people on the phone." Thank you. Cheers. Yeah. Yep. Trev, Dickheads Assemble. Thank you for commenting.
Yep.
Where did that all come about? Like, you're just another kind of funny thing you're just throwing out. Like, why don't we call our fans dickheads?
So, listen,
That's called getting drunk at practice.
Yeah. When we called the band Rasputin's Dick, the fact that dickheads at our fan base wasn't the first thing that came out of my head makes me angry. But it was just like recently, I was trying to come up with a clever post to announce something we were doing. I don't even remember what it was. And I was just trying to figure, like, just something witty and catchy, and dickheads came out, and I was like, dude, that's it! Like, yeah, now it's official. Our fans are dickheads.
Just the dick army.
Oh, I love that. Okay, can we touch on lyrics a little bit? I think from what I was reading, I mean, you have the name, you know, a lot of like you were saying before, kind of war-ish things. Is that something that you are writing, like you're hearing the music come in and then you're writing that to it, or do you have some kind of ideas ahead of time and, you know, you're trying to figure out how to piece them together?
So all of the songs were written musically before I was in the band, and they had titles to the songs already.
Okay.
So they told me, you know, the idea behind each track, and I kind of wrote my lyrics against the title and the ideas for the tracks themselves. Yeah. So I guess it would be after the fact.
Very cool. When you guys are putting those song titles together, is it like you're listening to a riff? Like, we always just have these made up whatever, like, placeholder names until we actually get a decent title. Is that something you guys do, or is it like, this song reminds me of X and then we're just titling it that and running with it?
we do a placeholder. Andy and I, when we with Rasputin's Dick as the name, we kind of brainstorm, and we got in this whole tailspin of the band is telling the story of Rasputin's mummified member, which is like a real thing. It's like on display in a museum.
I'm gonna ask you about that too. Yeah.
So, like, the premise is like the Rasputin's Dick is a sentient being of its own, and it's telepathically controlling politics and world events. So it's told through the perspective of Rasputin's Dick and how it's trying to power, and it's like historical accurate inaccuracies, you know.
So reimagine.
We wanted to use like real historical events with like real confirmed things that happened, and then just add in some dick sprinkles to make it more interesting. Yeah.
Oh, love it. I
And
can't
you
wait
know,
to
if I have my name, that's how it will continue, you know.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, is it something you're gonna try to continue? Like, I always think it's great when a band can like have an identity like that and have like a vision of what kind of pulls it all together. Is that something you're gonna try to keep up, or are you thinking about trying some other avenues here?
I think we're gonna ride this until the wheels fall off. Yeah. Like, we got the tracks already. These things ain't cheap, you know what I mean? We gotta fall through. This is hot. You know, it's like, I I wish I was a better character actor and I could come on here with the accent and just have like a whole. Like, if I could do the ghost thing, but for dicks, like that would be like the ideal dream. It's just I'm not that talented, I guess, but I definitely think the imagery and the concepts is funny. I mean, I know the name caught your attention, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
The first time I walked in, like, you know, most Wednesdays I go on break right around 8 o'clock. So I was tuning in and you saw the name. I seen you start laughing. I was like, it worked, you know.
Yeah.
And that's happened a few times. People know the name. It makes them laugh. They remember the name. And if they don't remember the name, they remember the tracksuits. So that part is working for us, I think. And I think, you know, once we do get the EP out there and we start playing some more shows and really get in front of people, I think the whole idea will really take off.
I agree.
It is.
Yeah, you're mixing. You're like blending these really like a good sense of humor in with like death metal and all these other, like things you wouldn't necessarily. I guess there is kind of humor in it sometimes. Yeah. What's that?
There's a level of seriousness that comes with death metal, I think, almost funny unintentionally. And
That's kind of where I was going.
Intentionally funny while still being serious about being funny.
Love it.
Like it doesn't need to be like you're drowning in an acid bath or whatever all the time. You know? Like sometimes it's dick. Like, that's the way it is.
Humor belongs to music. Yeah. And especially it's rarely seen in extreme music aside from like, you know, maybe a band like Death Clock. They do it really well.
That's a good one.
And it's like straight like core or like gore.
People hear our name and they expect maybe like grunge or death metal, you know, and I think that when we started this band, we wanted to add a sense of humor to making extreme music. They pair really well together when you do it right.
And you guys are doing it right. It makes me look at your EP name Rising in a whole different light too, I gotta say.
Well, big deal fans too, and Rainbow Rising, and it just, I don't know. We all went. Well, Charlie was on tour with his other project, but the three of us went and saw the Dio documentary at the theater, and while we were there, I don't know, it's just like a moment hit us, and we were like, man, this is definitely what we want to do with our lives, and like, I don't know, it was emotional for a minute, you know, but we pulled through, no tears, but like we all cried. We all cried.
It's okay. It's okay.
I wasn't even there.
True story, but yeah. So we thought, you know, right on like homage to that, and then just fits the theme of like Rasputin's dick, you know. Coming back.
Yeah. It's like a boner joke.
Yeah, exactly.
An endless well of inspiration. Okay, so speaking of jokes here, Brandy asks, what scent are those candles?
It's a patchouli and sandalwood. I bought these specifically for this interview. I'm not gonna lie. True story. The whole house smells wonderful. Really does. Chelsea's mad because she wants the house to smell like vanilla beans and roses. That's my wife. But it smells like a man's locker room right now. It's just the way it is.
Like a hippie locker room, yeah.
Yeah.
Angel says, I love this. Yep, thank you, Angel. Nate Boylan, thanks you. Boyard, sorry about that. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions for the guys, drop them in there and we'll get to them. We got about 10 minutes left here. All right, so we covered a lot there. So you've released 2 singles right now, right? So far, is that correct? Are they both on the EP or are they just standalone?
Yeah, they're both on.
Okay, cool.
I think the first one, Rusty lost the vocal tracks for. Just like a freak accident,
Mm-hmm.
but kind of for the better, because I think we were still trying to dial in like exactly how we wanted it to sound and where we wanted to go with it. From Death at the Hands of the Crushing Red, which we just released like 2 days ago.
Yep, I saw that.
I think that's the sound. That's what we want. So I think that one's going to be a little different on the album. And yeah, we're really excited. There's 3 that nobody's really heard yet. So yeah, I think it'll be a good time for everybody that wants in on the dickheads, the dickhead joke.
So do you have like a release plan around that? Like we always debate, like right now we're just in singles mode. We're just, as we write them, we're just going to release them. And then once we get to a certain point, we'll package them up as an album and then say, you can buy the album too. How are you kind of tackling that?
Well, it's kind of been like, as they get mixed and finished, we've just been putting them out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
We tried to like set the new single up to be released on the 1st, but I dropped the ball with DistroKid, and it just started coming out. Like it hit YouTube, and then it hit Spotify, and I was like, well, I guess like I have to tell everyone it's out now. We were trying to hype it up and build it to something, but
Yeah.
the whole thing's kind of been a learning process, and I think that Rusty has got like a lot of time invested in what he's got going on now, and it's just a matter of like really finishing it up. But I'm pretty confident that it'll be out, hopefully towards the end of the summer or in the fall. We don't have any like real plans. We still have to get like album art and like all the finer details. And if it comes down to doing single by single, if that's what it has to be, then that's what we'll do. We're kind of just playing it by ear right now at this point, honestly.
Yeah, I think everyone is. It's so much has changed. It's been crazy. How much do you like? How much do you think about like the social media side of things? Is it like? Is it
so overwhelming? Yeah. I started the Instagram page just because at the time I didn't have a personal Instagram, and it was kind of an excuse. Like I stepped away from social media altogether. It just kind of became too like consuming.
Yeah.
And I started it because like I wanted to get back out there and let people know what I was doing, and I was really proud of like the work we had put in at the time, and I regret that wholeheartedly. Like I do not want control. I don't know what to say. One day I wake up and I'm witty and I got the right words and everything feels great, and then the next day I'm like, I don't know, like.
Yeah.
You can't wait too long, and then people forget you exist, and I don't know. It's crazy. I'm afraid to make a Facebook because I don't want to be in charge of 2 things, and it just seems like, I don't know, unless you're paying a manager or you have someone that really knows what they're doing and how to present things in a way that's appealing to a large audience, I feel like it's really, really hard to break through on social media alone. And that's why, like, back to the whole venue thing, that's why I feel like our strong suit is, like, has a band playing live. We practice a lot, we're very tight, and I think that our performance would speak for itself, and that would help build some social media presence. But as it stands, just trying to make a name based off of social media alone is ridiculously hard. It's way over my head, and I stress out about it way more than I think I should.
Yeah.
You're not alone there. Do you do
One
anything
day you get it done like dickheads, and then the next day you're supposed to deliver something else, and it's like, I don't know, man, I'm all tapped out.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like it's like inspired one day, rage quit the next, and then repeat cycle kind of thing.
I like the live stream interview thing. I think that's like its own niche that I haven't seen anybody else doing, and I've tuned in to 4 or 5 of the live streams.
I appreciate it.
They've all been different. and enlightening in their own ways, and everyone brings like their own thing to the table, and I think it's a really cool idea, and I think it's a really cool way to set yourself apart while at the same time giving something back. You know, you get fresh eyes on your band and what you're doing, but at the same time you're allowing other bands to have a say and like have something that they can do too. And I think that that's a very smart way to go about building a presence online, because it doesn't seem so narcissistic and self-centered like so much social media seems like these days. It's really hard to find that balance. You want to promote yourself, but you also build up other people around you. It's hard to find like where that balance is. I think this is a great idea. It's a great balance. Yeah, it's like the best of both worlds. Really cool. I want to interview
Thank you for that.
you, man. I want to know what's your
Yeah.
Who are you?
you, man?
No.
What is
That's all about that. Well, once you start one, invite me on, and we can just do it next week, whatever.
I'm interested.
Yeah, I'd like to know. That would be sick.
Just wanted to quick say, first of all, thank you for that. Thank you for joining every week. Thank you everyone watching right now for joining. This is what really kind of makes it go. So seriously, thank you for that. That's put us together tonight. We actually do have a manager. Her name's Angel. She helps a lot back behind the scenes, and I want to give her a shout out too, because there's no way in hell I would be able to do any of this or us as a band without like her organization, and just she takes care of all like the reaching out to people side of things, and just makes our lives way better. So thank you all for that. You also brought up a great point, which is I think what I got hung up with, the first thing I got hung up on a long time was like, all I needed to do is be really talented, and people will like realize that and like flock to you and all this kind of stuff, and quickly realize like that wasn't the case. And then it became more like you have to really learn how to basically build connections with people, because people more than likely will like you before they like your music. So yeah, this is just kind of a experiment that we're keeping up with, and the best way to promote yourself is to promote other people, and it's all about that community thing. So yeah, thank you so much. Are you guys speaking of live performances? We have only a couple of minutes left, but I just want to quick hit on that live performance thing. Do you do anything? So we're always talking about like, what can we do visually to be more interesting when we play live shows? Do you guys have those conversations at all? Have you gotten anywhere with that?
Yeah.
Man,
you can say that.
listen, if I had $1 million, there'd be all kinds of, like, we'd have statues. Like, we'd have, like, fog machines that came out of the top of Simpsons. Like, it'd be like Spinal Tap with a Mount Rushmore.
Have you ever seen like the dragon? All right, imagine a big.
Yeah, like all kinds of
million things. You should hear it. I mean,
Every time we go out on the porch to smoke,
Yeah.
we come up.
Especially like
the cheats hard.
there's so many good ideas, but right now in practice, it's mostly the tracksuits.
Yeah.
That's like a big part of it. It's like the Russian tracksuit thing, and like it plays into the image. I always kind of thought of it as like we're like he was Dick's bodyguards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're enforcing his will. That was kind of like the premise at first, and that's kind of the big thing now. We haven't done much in the way of live shows, and it's kind of just building that confidence on stage and just being able to go out there and own the entire stage and just make it ours. And I think like having something to build towards is way better than going all out at first and then falling on your face.
Yeah.
And I think that, the same is true with, mixing our own album and just slowly releasing, one color print shirts and then into multiple color print shirts and doing that ourselves and all of those little things. I think taking those baby steps allow us to grow and meet and exceed expectations versus just like hitting the ground running with like thousands of dollars and none of the experience and none of the know-how and none of that background knowledge that you really need to make a lasting impression. And when we do a follow-up, because we'll know what we did the first time and how to do it, just keep getting better. And I think that people really just want to see you get better and not plateau and not stay the same. They want to see progression. And I think we've set ourselves up very well to progress in a way that's positive for us.
See, that's perfect. I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I think people sometimes they'll wait too long to they don't feel like it's ready to be released, and it's like no, you don't understand. You just release it, and as long as you're exactly what you're saying, as long as the next one's better, people will follow that and want to see that kind of keep continuing for sure. Love that. All right, just really quick, where can you find matching tracksuits? Do you order that online, or is it just like one
Macy's,
Kohl's that has them?
They rack at Macy's.
Oh, Macy's. Cool.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. The Adidas is a really big part of that culture, and I just wanted to tag imagery because I thought it was really funny and really cool, and that's just where it is, you know. Right now, Macy's. The best deal in town. The lady at Macy's hooked me up. She heard it was for a band. She started telling me about Jackal, a band. Yeah. Like, I saw them live. It was the greatest thing ever. I was like, yeah, it's a lot like that. You know, it's funny. And she gave me like an extra 30% on each tracksuit, so it really did help out.
Did you need to give her like credit in the credits?
Yeah.
Oh.
Definitely liner notes for sure.
All right, one more question from Plain Baked Potato and wrap this up. Is there tracksuit merch or is it band members only?
It's exclusive. Right now, it's just band members only. But you know what?
The light bulb just went off.
It's a great idea. Custom embroidered silkscreen tracksuits. Who knows? I mean,
Number one dickhead on the
number one dickhead. Yep.
Dick Army.
Dick Army.
There's a ranking.
I mean, anything's possible. Maybe not Adidas brand. I feel like
I'm not trying to get sued.
I'm not trying to get sued or anything, but
Right.
for sure, I think it's possible. Yeah, I don't see why not. Got to find somewhere.
Yeah. Get it by the
Dick Ditas. All right, so I think we're
Yeah. Oh yeah. Cool.
You're getting
Checks in the mail.
all right, cool. Are you guys planning on? I just want to quickly touch on one other thing. Are you guys gonna you're gonna try to play out some more coming up? Are you guys sticking in the area? Are you gonna try to get out of the area at all? Only because we have a lot of bands over here that I think you'd fit in really well with. Like we have a hardcore scene going on.
Well, let's do it.
Where are you? What area are you from? Where are you?
Pennsylvania.
We're right on the edge of New Jersey, though.
Oh, well, so like Eastern Pennsylvania, dude, we don't give a fuck. We'll drive across.
Yeah, let's do it.
You make sure it's a weekend?
It's only
It's
it's
Saturday or Sunday. For sure.
I'm off work.
we're down.
We'll come
Put you in
play.
touch with some promoters. We had an interesting thing. The opposite of what you guys were talking about happened, where there was a deathcore. Wait, is it deathcore? And it was either death metal and black metal, or I think it was death metal and black metal show, and they refused to play with each other. Like only the death metal bands would play the death metal bands, and only the black metal bands. I forget what it was.
See, that's the
but it was like, are you guys serious?
It's too scary.
Yeah, that's
I think people laugh at that.
yeah, that would happen.
That's why I like them more release. Either they're dressed up all crazy and they're having a great time. People are laughing at them, they're laughing at themselves.
Yeah, dude, they're having fun.
Yeah, that's
I'm
the
all
whole name of
for
the
it.
game, right?
Yeah.
People forget about
Seriously.
it.
I'd
Yeah.
be totally
I was thinking of you guys when there's a promoter for. Actually, we're playing a show there, but he also does a lot of like shows that are in your guys' vein. So we can definitely hook you up, see if you guys want to come out or whatever. But yeah, Serge,
Yes,
Bobo,
thank you
thanks
for-
for joining. We're just wrapping up right now, but I appreciate you jumping on there anyway. So, okay, guys, with that, anything else that you want to promote or talk about before we sign off here?
Just real quick, we got a show April 28th at the Foundry in Cleveland. That's going to be like a mixed genre show with, rap and metal. There's new metal on the card and us, and we're playing at McAlpine Meadery on the 20th of May, and that'll be really cool. It's more of like a doom metal show, and we're kind of the odd ones out. So like we said, we kind of like to mix it up. And then like directly after this live stream, we're going live with band rehearsal.
Oh,
and we're just going to like rock out for probably like 30 minutes and we're just going to get it in all in one night because we're already here. Why not? We're already in the tracks. Yeah, I'm dressed up. So
right.
yeah, if you guys want to check it out real quick, we'll be down there doing our thing here in a little bit. So and thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you very much for giving us a platform to be able to kind of like shed some light on the big joke here.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
No problem. I loved it right away. So always great to make connections like this and have you guys on. Thank you guys so much. Everyone stick around for their live stream right after this. I'll be checking. That was a nice surprise. I'll be checking that out. That's Kurt, Andy, Rusty, and Charlie of Rasputin's Dick. They have a new EP coming out, Rising, soon, but they just released Death at the Hands of the Crushing Red, which is fucking crushing. So go check that out. And guys, thank you so much, and have a great rehearsal here. I'll be checking that in a second. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, brother.
Problem,
For
man.
you.
This is fun. Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Have a good night.